What your student will see, they'll only have 3 tabs up here. This is the teacher, what the teacher sees. But you can still see what the student sees here. This is what the teacher sees is the apple. What the student sees, and the only thing you will see on the page if you log in as your student or create your own page, is just the little hat here. That version. So let's take a look. The first thing you're going to see up at the top is these getting ready pieces. Now the getting ready pieces are not, it's not covering what the students are going to learn in a unit. It's what the students should already know. Those are prerequisite skills. So those are the perfect, your child comes home and says, I don't have any homework. Well, let's go pull one of these getting ready pieces and see what's coming up. What kind of prerequisite skills you can be studying. Kids are going to hate me tonight. You got me in house mom and is, but I can't stand it. So if you take a look at it, you will see that it has practice. It gives a little mini lesson. So for those of you that think, you know what, I've been out of school a long time. I don't know anything about factoring. That's okay. There's a little mini lesson here. Gives you a couple of examples and then some practice problems for the student. Okay, that's all there. So they can look ahead and do those for the units coming up because those are prerequisite skills that they should have. They can also look at can they see the overview? The first page? They can?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a blue hat. Of course they can. Okay, so this is the first page of Unit 4. There's the overview, what they're going to learn. There's that vocabulary. Another thing, if they come home and say, I don't have any homework, well, these are the vocabulary words that they're going to need to know for this unit. So they can go ahead and start looking them up, finding them in context on Google. If they can Google the hottest restaurant in town, they can Google coefficient, okay, or anything else they're looking at. Essential questions right here on the right. These are the questions the student should be able to answer by the end of this unit. Embedded assessment, it even gives you the page numbers that the embedded assessment are on. And like, Miss Wallace said earlier, the students get to see the embedded assessment. That is their formative assessment, and it's in the book. So they know before the assessment is ever given to them, usually days, sometimes weeks before the assessment comes up, they've had it in their book the whole time. It's right there.
And we discussed it. If you see in where it says 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, and then embedded assessment, that's where we do the embedded assessment, is at the end of 4.3. So at the beginning of 4.1, we look at the embedded assessment, and we read it together, and we highlight what's important, and we mark things that they're going to have to know before we've even started the unit. So they've already seen the quiz that comes at the end of these 3 units before we've even talked about anything. So they know what's expected of them at the end of the day.
And then after each activity, we've been flipping to the embedded assessment. So we've done 3.1. Can we answer number 1? Can we answer number 2? Okay, we need to go back. And there's also, I don't know if she mentioned it, there's a rubric that tells how we grade it. It tells what you...
Here's the rubric, so you'll know what's expected for each one.
What you have to have to get an A. What you would get to be proficient, which is B, C.
So they get to see
It's in the book.
all the
Yes, ma'am.
on
Yes, ma'am.
Springboard thing.
And in their book.
Yes, ma'am, it's in their book. And we go over it at the beginning of the unit. And they can bring it in anytime before the due date and get feedback. We can let them know if they're on the right track. Yes, ma'am.
And now you know.
Well, you
The
know,
rest of the story.
I'm such a micromanager. My kids.
But I will tell you, this is not easy. This stuff is not easy. It's not an easy tool. It's not an easy curriculum. But the standards aren't easy. Life is not easy. I mean, we really have to get the kids used to looking at math in this way. You're looking at this first activity. You see 4 numbers. And the rest are words. Because everything is wrapped up in a situational problem where they're having to solve a problem. They're having to pull the numbers out and come up with the numbers and decide what to do with them. That's the real part. I mean, how often do you go to work every day and solve a linear equation? You don't, but you solve for an unknown. You solve a problem. That's a linear equation. You're solving for X a lot of times. You just don't realize that's what you're doing. Okay? So we're trying to make that connection for them with this tool. So if you scroll on down, you'll see at the bottom, really? we go. So if you scroll down, you'll see at the bottom there, practice, additional practice, and if it has a blue hat here, your students can get to it. The only thing they can't get to is this unit assessment, the summative assessment at the end of the unit. Now, I do want to encourage you, this math standards review is kind of set up like a standardized test, and you can take a look at that. But I want to encourage you to know where your students are, and you can do that by My Big Campus, apparently, because it's all there for you. Know what's coming up. We're about to start Unit 4 next week. So pull this unit reflection up. Have your students and you sit down and go through it and look. It's going to tell you everything that's about to occur. There's the vocabulary, there's the questions they're going to need to be able to answer. And do this reflection. Where are you? What are your weaknesses here? What are your strengths? Do it prior to, rather than using it as a reflection. It's a little snapshot of what's coming. Okay? Just another way to see where we're going. That's another reason we really like this tool, because most of the time, sometimes we're lucky enough to just get in the car and go somewhere. But most of the time we go on vacation, we have a plan. We know where we're going. And we have a map. And we know how to get there, right? We know what to pack. We have our GPS. We have everything ready. We've made our reservations. So that's kind of what Springboard does for us, is gives us the destination before we ever get on the road. Now, there's 2 teachers here. They might take different routes. Maybe she's going to take the expressway route. And maybe she's going to take the back roads for whatever reason. Maybe she likes scenery. But the destination is the same. So there's some things that need to be done similarly to get us to that destination. So just getting on the road and going somewhere is what we've been doing. Now we're looking, we're planning with the end in mind. Okay? So that was just kind of a brief snapshot. I want to let you guys get upstairs so you can actually do an activity and see what that looks and feels like. Does anybody have any questions for me or the other 2 young ladies?
I would say the biggest thing, even if they say I don't have homework, I don't have anything to do in math, the biggest thing that you could do as a parent is that, well, tell me what you learned today. What did you do today? And I always use the example with slope. When we were in school, they said, this is how you do slope, now do it 50 times. We don't do that. We have to go through and we have to derive a formula for slope. Why do we use that formula for slope? Where does it come from? Now do it a couple times. Because they think that if you derive it yourself and you develop an idea of how to get there, you can do it as many times as you wanted to, but did you get how to get there? So that asking them, well, how do you know what slope is? How do you know how to do this? How did you get that? That's more important than any homework problems that we can send home.
And why would you use that?
Right.
Why would you use the slope formula? In what situation would you use that? There's also some resources at the bottom back if you go out of the unit that I failed to mention to you. But I encourage you just to get in there and play around and look around and see what there is there for you. Also, we said in the last session, I don't think we said it here, is everything all the way back to 6th grade is available. All the way up to pre-cal is available. So if they go online and they struggled with a standard that was 2 years ago, all of these resources are still here for them. So you can go back and look at that book. One of the links that I put in your little cheat sheet are a standards correlation. So you can look up the standard and see which Springboard book it's in, where to find it. And all the books are right there. And there's also, ELA is also using Springboard in the language arts classes. And that's right there too. They can access both of those from the same login. Okay?
I forgot. Miss Bird, I forgot. When the student logs in, like she said before, there's only 3 tabs up here at the top. It says My Classes, Find Materials, and My Assessments. If they click on that My Classes part, it will be the first tab. They'll see that they're in Miss Bird's class, Miss Wallace's class, Miss Hopkins' class, whoever they've enrolled in. And then we post a lot of problems in there too. So they could go through, and I know Miss Bird actually counts hers as extra credit. She posts one on Wednesday, and you have until the next Wednesday to do it. And if you get it done, you get extra credit. And then we have days that will go into the lab and assign problems to do that are in there that they can go back in and look through. So there's lots of resources that are available. We're going to separate off into geometry and coordinate algebra so you can see what goes on in class when we're in class with the students. Why do these activities look this way? Why are we doing it like this? Why are they
not coming home with 15 homework problems like we did when we were in school. So that's what we're going to lead into, but now we're just going to talk about different things that you can use at home with your students so they can be more successful at home, so when they come to school, they're ready to rock and roll. The first thing is Springboard, obviously the website that we use, and Lynn House is going to be explaining a lot of this, but I want to stop really quick over here at My Big Campus. We are adopting this in every classroom in the county.
Absolutely.
And we already have it for the coordinate algebra and the analytic geometry at Alcovey. This is actually Miss Hopkins' page, if anybody has her as a teacher. This is her My Big Campus page where you can go through and look at all of the different things that she posts. And it's the same for coordinate algebra. It looks a lot like Facebook and Twitter or whatever you use when you're at home on the social media. You post status updates. You can follow your friends. You can follow your teachers. You can follow the principal. You can follow whoever you want to, and all their stuff is gonna pop up. But then more specifically is the groups. And as you see here, she has her analytic group, and we have our coordinate algebra group. So they would want to be a member of this group so that they could go in here into schoolwork. And she hasn't had anybody do anything lately. But when you click on schoolwork, that's where your assignments come in. That's where your extra practice comes in. That's where your videos come in that we all post to help you when you're at home. If they forget something, then they can log in here and they can pull up a video or they can look at another example. I know we post our notes that we do every day. As we write them on the board, we record them and then we put them on My Big Campus. So if they're absent or if they forget to write down number 3, you can pull it up and you can say, well, here it is, write it down, let's go. So that has been a really helpful tool that we have all used. And there's a lot of different things. You can follow a lot of different groups and do a lot of different things on here. And they're going to be more acclimated with that as the year goes by. And I know a lot of them had that last year too. So they might know a little bit more than we might. So we're going to use this a lot. But the Springboard is what we really need to talk about.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Let's go.
The My Big Campus login. Tell them how
Oh,
the
sorry.
student logs in.
They do have a login. Every single student at Alcovey has a login already. It is the same login and password that they use to get into the system. When they go to school and they go to the media center and they log into the computer, that's how they get into My Big Campus. Last name, first initial, middle initial, birthday, and then their password is whatever they have created. Yes. So they already have an account. They just need to go to the coordinate algebra group and follow it, or go to the analytic geometry group and follow it or join it. And then all of the stuff that we post comes to them now. Any questions on My Big Campus?
So now,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
is that just for students or can parents?
You would have to
Join and
use their
follow?
login.
Okay.
We don't have the rights for parents to have that.
Okay.
It has a firewall in it, so
Yes.
the kids can't
Right.
they can't do anything in My Big
Right.
Campus they wouldn't be able to do on a school computer.
Right.
Okay.
So it's very
They
protected.
can't post anything or something that they wouldn't want to be done at school. And that's why we use My Big Campus.
Okay.
But yes, you would have to use your student's login.
Okay.
You just said one good thing. You said that like if a kid absent or whatever, let's say
Mhm.
for math or whatever,
Mhm.
whatever is taught in class,
Yep.
like you introduce a new word problem, what have you,
Yep.
they'll put it on campus.
We do the coordinate algebra. I'm not sure. I can't speak for analytic geometry. But we do every day after we have done notes in the book, because I write them as they write them up on the board. So I just save that as a document and post it into My
Okay,
Big
it gives
Campus.
an example of how to do that particular problem.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that's
Mhm.
awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you.
You want to go to show them the calendar?
That's awesome.
Oh, the calendar, yes. This is a really good tool. She has hers set up to show everything, like today, or where did she click?
She clicked on the 26th.
Oh, sorry.
This will work.
26.
Well, that'll
Sorry.
work.
Activity 3.1. So this would be what they did that day on the 16th in that class. They started doing exploring similar figures, which is an activity that's in that book. These are the pages. This is a video that would help them if they forgot or need to see somebody do it again. So that's a link that they can use there. You can go down here. Here's another one. She can post something directly to this day. She can add in extra worksheets that might not be in the book itself, just like these videos. So there's lots of different ways that you can get the extra help that they need at home. So then you would be able to see, going back to the calendar, you would be able to see what they did that day, but more importantly, what's coming up next. When is the next test? When is the next embedded assessment? And that's a key word. I don't know if any of you have heard your students talk about that, but embedded assessment is our new quiz that we do. So knowing when those are coming up is really vital. So that calendar can be really beneficial. Anything else?
I'm impressed.
No? Here we go. Springboard.
While you got your pens nice and hot, there's one more thing I wanted you to write down, and that's Khan Academy, Khan. It has a search engine. Once you get into Khan Academy, there's an app for it. The kids can have it on their phone as well.
There's an app for my big campus too.
Mm-hmm. And there's a plethora of videos. So let's just say for some reason I looked at these videos and I still didn't get it. Go to Khan Academy, search how to solve a linear equation, and there's a nice how-to video there as well. Okay. Okay. Well, my name is Lynn House. I am the secondary instructional coach for the district for mathematics, and I just want to talk to you a little bit about Springboard itself. The first thing I want to talk about is the why. I'm a huge proponent of knowing why something is the way it is. So if you look at the packet that you picked up outside, hopefully, it has Springboard written on the front. There's all kinds of data inside. If you're a statistics, numbers kind of person and you want to see all of that, you don't have one? Will you?
I have an extra one.
Okay, here we go.
I'll take a one, it's okay, I'll take a one.
Seems like there's several people that don't have one. I'll give you this one if somebody needs it when I get finished. Just a second, okay?
They're at a table out there.
Are there more out there? Let's see.
Big stack of them.
There should also be a cheat sheet that Mr. Raines was making copies of. It looks like this. Do you have this?
That got put out.
We'll post it on My Big Campus.
The copies are there.
The copies are there? Okay, so you can get it on the way out. She said there's new copies out there now. But there's a couple of things on this cheat sheet, a couple of links. Yeah, you can have it. The College Board site is on here. No, I was talking to this young lady up front a little bit about I hate standing behind the podium. I was talking to her a little bit about who College Board is. College Board are the writers of Springboard, the Springboard curriculum, the Springboard tool that we use to teach the curriculum. They were also sitting at the table when the Common Core standards were written. So that's one reason we chose this program, is because they were some of the inventors of the Common Core standards. The standards are what we teach, and we're using Springboard as the tool to teach it. They were also at the table writing the assessment that goes along with it, the PARC assessment that goes along with these almost national standards. All but 2 states have adopted these standards. So we can really start to look at and compare and see where we stand. It's hard, it's been hard in the past because we always are compared to other states, but we don't all use the same thing. We don't even all have the same standards until now. So this is going to make it a truer picture of what's going on in Georgia, okay? So that's one of the reasons that we chose College Board, Springboard. The other reason is because of the rigor, the text complexity. This really is going to prepare these students for college and for career. It puts the math in context instead of just teaching it into mastery. Instead of just teaching the kids how to solve a linear equation, it goes into a situational problem so they understand why. And they understand that there's a pattern behind it. That's all math is how to solve problems. And when you find the pattern, and you see that the pattern works every single time, then it's a breeze. And that's where we're trying to get, making connections for them. Okay, so you have these 2 links here. You're welcome to take a look at. We're going to come back and look at this one in just a minute. But I want to show you what one of the links look like, and I encourage you to go here and kind of look around and read about the program if you want more information. All of the components are here. The frequently asked questions, the teacher resources, teacher edition, student edition, it's all right here. And this link is on that cheat sheet. But let's take a look at what your student sees. So when they log into Springboard, this is the page that they see. I'm scared to go backwards because I'm scared I won't be able to go back forward. They actually see this page. This is where they log in. This is on your cheat sheet as well. So I clicked on the link. This is what I see. They're logging in as a student. They should have a username, password, and school code. The school code is
213643.
213643.
The username and password is student created, so they don't have one yet. So when they go to the computer lab with us, or when you do it at home, they have to make one. And all of coordinate algebra has one already. We've all done that. We all pulled in to the lab, or we pulled in the netbook cards, and we all did that together. So they should all have one. I know that all of mine do. And we encourage them to use the same username and password as their My Big Campus, as their system login, just so everything is the same.
Right.
But you do have to have the school code, 213643. That's specific to Alcobee.
If they want to register at home tonight, there's a click to register tab right here. And it'll walk you through. It's very user-friendly.
And I think you were going to say, you can do it too. Just register as a student using that same code. And you can have it for yourself.
Then you'll be able to see what your student sees. Gosh,
No, you have
it's
to log
scaring
in.
me because I can't get to it.
You have to log in.
Shh, don't say that.
What we talked about downstairs was kind of where Springboard came from. It is operated or owned by College Board, which is the company that does the SAT and the ACT. So the goal is to prepare your students as they go through their high school career for the SAT, for those types of questions. A lot of the main difference between Springboard and your traditional math is that we're trying to get into, instead of just giving them a formula and giving them 20 practice problems, it's more of saying if they can derive a formula and know when to use it, and give them a couple of examples, but really to make sure that they know where it's coming from and why they're using that formula. So, what we prepared for you, we did printed out a little activity that they've had to do so you can kind of see how it works in the classroom. And downstairs we gave a couple of resources that you can go to get some additional practice. We've set up a My Big Campus page for geometry, so that if you go into the calendar, you can click on the day and see what we did in class that day, what the topic was. We'll try to upload video links if there was something that your child didn't understand, so that maybe they can watch the links and maybe get it that way. That's pretty much what we talked about downstairs. And then you can go to Springboard online and then get information that you can get from out of their book. So don't worry about writing it. We'll get you the handouts. Don't worry about it. So Springboard Online, which kind of goes through what you see, what your child sees in their book. Embedded assessments are a huge thing. So in the unit, say after activity, this is activity 2.8, so maybe at activity 2.10, there will be an embedded assessment, which is a test that reviews things they were supposed to get from those activities. So what we do at the beginning of the unit, or right before, at the beginning of the lesson that starts the embedded assessment, we will unpack the assessment. So we go through, we read it together, we go through and highlight words that they don't understand, concepts that they're going to need to know before they can do that assessment. And then what we've been doing this time is going back after every activity, taking a look at it and saying, okay, so we did activity 3.1. Do we know enough information to answer number 1? Okay, if so, then let's work on it again. Let's work on number 1. So we've been doing a lot in class this time. The embedded assessments
The rubric is in the book, so they know how it's gonna be graded. They can turn it in anytime before it's due and get feedback from their teacher. And then give it back to them if it needs, some detailing or if it needs something fixed or corrected on it. And then they can turn it back and they can do that as many times as they need to until they get 100%.
So is this
Up
like a
until
daily
the due date.
thing or
Is that I'm
is
sorry.
it like a daily thing?
It would be like for instance, our embedded assessment is due next Tuesday. And so they've known about it since the beginning of activity 3.1, which was last Monday, I think. So they knew about it 2 weeks ahead of time. And then we've gone back, and then during our academic enrichment period, third period, I've been giving my class an opportunity to work on it, ask questions about it. So there's no reason that anyone should not get 100% on embedded assessments.
Now, like my daughter, she goes your class first, and then she comes to Career Academy. Is it something after school, whatever she needs to do?
Tuesdays and Thursdays after school tutoring until 4 o'clock. And they just need to let their math teacher know which tutoring session they'd like to attend. Yes, ma'am. Anybody else? Not really? Okay. Well, if you want to take a look at the activity, I don't want to keep you any longer than you have to. I know how precious your time is. So for something like this, just to give you an idea, we'll read it together and discuss what the lesson is going to be about. And we might go through and discuss what is a consecutive side and what is an opposite angle or a consecutive angle. And then it's, okay, take 5 minutes, work on number 1 with your partner, or work in your group on number 1. And so they'll work together for a few minutes. Teacher is generally walking around, and then we'll bring everybody back as a class, and then go over the answers. Flip over, it would be the same thing. We break it into pieces so that the teacher's not there the whole time. It's not the traditional teacher-led instruction the entire time. It's a lot of communicating with the students, asking questions, getting feedback in the class, getting them to tell you the answer. One thing they told us in our training, like, if somebody asks you a question, kind of give them a question back and help them get the answer rather than just giving them an answer. So that's what we try to do in class. Unless it's something that is extremely complex, then we will take the time to really go through it. I know we've had a couple of days this unit where we've just worked problems all day. We've worked practice problems. So that's about it in a nutshell. So, any questions? Well, I definitely want to get you guys your handouts that will tell you how to log on to Springboard. It gives you information on My Big Campus, on how to get onto My Big Campus, so that they can access the calendar. So I'm going to get you those handouts. And if nobody has any other questions, then feel free to go on.
Are you going to have them do the sex survey?
Oh, well, I had some of them that said they had already done it. If you all could take one while you're here, if you haven't completed a SAC survey. We have them pulled up on the computers in front of you. A couple of dates, a couple of important dates. They have an embedded, your geometry students have an embedded assessment due October 1st. That should be pretty much done by now. They have a mid-unit assessment October 2nd. So we'll be reviewing the 1st for the test on the 2nd. Benchmark is October 17th. They take the PSAT October 16th. So those are important days to be there. That's everything that's coming up. And then anything else, you can access the calendar on My Big Campus, and you can see what's coming up. We'll make sure to upload all of that information. My email address is there if you have any questions. And I'm Ms. Hopkins. I don't know if I introduced myself. I teach geometry.
I miss him, Tom. I also
She teaches geometry as well. And then there are 2 others that couldn't make it tonight. Mrs. Jackson and Mrs. Young. I know How do you guys are so quiet? I'll ask you, please, just question.
No, I mean, so all the teachers are basically on the same page?
Yes.
They should be.
Yes. We meet weekly and discuss what the lesson plans are for the week and how far you should get in each activity. Now, that's not to say that if we get into the class and we're doing a problem that no one understands, we will stop and take that day, you know, if we get a little off, we'll do that, but generally, yes, we're on the same page.
And the assessments are due when?
The embedded assessment,
Tuesday?
yes, they have an embedded assessment due Tuesday, and they have a mid-unit assessment that they'll do in class Wednesday.
I just found out about it right before I walked in here. I was quizzing him and he said something about it. And he's not sure about what he needs to do, so the basic.
Do for the embedded assessment?
Yeah. And I said, well, talk to your teacher. I was hoping, Mrs. Young is his teacher.
Okay.
And I was hoping to.
Well, I can tell you that now. It's page 229. Question 1 is covered in activity 3.1.
Okay.
Questions 2 and 3 are in activities 3.2 and 3.3. There's a rubric on page 230 that will tell them exactly what we are looking for. In order to get an exemplary grade for number 1, you have to write 5 ratios and reduce them.
Okay.
You should get the same scale factor for all 5 of them. Numbers 2 and 3, you have to tell how the triangles are similar and prove it. That's how much we've been over it in class. That I can tell you that without looking at anything. That's how much we've been over that in class.
What were you doing with the triangles?
Telling how they're similar and then proving it. And so, Master, how can you prove triangles are similar? 3 postulates, side, angle, inside, angle, side. So for angle, you have to have two angles that are congruent. Your side. Your sides have to be in proportion. See,